Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Kemmler outdid himself today with the fried shrimp, fried fish, shrimp fried rice from Super King. We really appreciate Twan and the guys over there donating this to the program. That's awesome. Thank you very much. So, recap last week, Lamar, wild game going back and forth. Had all the elements. It was hot and humid early. It started raining, sheets coming down. I thought it affected us a little bit. And then it stopped raining, and then we played the rest of the game. So I think the game went back and forth, but I really feel like the turnovers is probably what hurt us more than anything else. We had our share of penalties again, which we're working hard to eliminate those. But at the same time, the penalties are the things that really keep us from being who we want to be offensively. What I was really pleased about defensively, we got 3 turnovers. So we had a couple of picks and a fumble recovery. And from that standpoint, that's really good. Anytime you can get 3 turnovers in a game, I think is, you're really playing well. And I thought defensively we did play well. They had one drive just prior to the half where they drove the football down the field. But other than that, I think we did a really good job defensively stopping those guys. Offensively, we had a lot of yardage. We moved the ball. But, again, the turnovers stopped our drives. I think we had only 2 punts, maybe 3. But the turnovers stopped our drives, and then we had a couple of holdups in the red zone. So we got to do a better job of finishing drives offensively, not only with the eliminating the turnovers, but finishing with touchdowns, not so much field goals. Jonathan did a good job, hit all 3 of his field goal attempts, which, you're always pleased with that. But at the same time, I'd rather him not be on the field or just coming in kicking extra points instead of getting 3 points. We need touchdowns. And playing Northwestern this week, they've got a really explosive offense. We're going to need all the touchdowns. What they do offensively, I think their quarterback, Epler, does a really good job. He takes care of the football. They've got 0 turnovers this year. He's got 0 from an interception standpoint, and they throw the football a lot. They got a big-time receiver in Jazz Ferguson, who they go over to the top with. He's had a couple 100-yard games already this season. One against A&M, one last week against Lamar, or 2 weeks ago against Lamar. They're coming off an open date. Which allowed them to prepare an extra week to prepare for us. But, for us against them, it's going to be us taking care of the football, doing the things that we need to be able to do, but stopping their explosiveness. We got to make them drive the field. I think they're a big play-oriented offense, and they do a good job of getting the ball into the guys' hands that they need to do that with. So, from that standpoint, we got to do a good job of getting off of the field, especially on third downs. We did a much better job this week on third downs on both sides of the football, offensively and defensively. And, from that standpoint, I think we were happy about that. We were credited with 1 sack. I think there were 3 or 4 during the course of the game after we looked at it on film. But I thought our defensive line and our rush guys did a much better job getting up the field and affecting the quarterback at Lamar. So we're going to have to do that this week. I know he gets the ball out of his hands quick, and they do a good job. But, he threw for 400-something yards against Lamar a couple of weeks ago, and they scored 49 points. So that's a team. This is a team that can be explosive and can score from anywhere on the field, and we got to do a great job defending those guys. So with that, I'll take any questions. We're back at home and excited about that. Hoping for a home field. We're going to get a home field advantage, and we want that. And the atmosphere is going to be great. It'll be a great night, and I'm looking forward to it. So with that, I'll take any questions.
What do you think about playing the last tape you had to watch on Lamar or on Northwestern is against Lamar? Did it help you at all since you just played them?
Yeah. But Ryan, it's a great question. It helps us a great deal from a personnel standpoint. I said early in the year or during camp, I'm not familiar with the personnel in the league. This helps me a great deal, being able to compare what they're doing against guys we just played against. So I'm able to look at their defensive line, their offensive line, and kind of gauge what kind of players those guys are by how well we competed against them and how we matched up against them. Same thing in the secondary, our receivers versus their defensive backs, our defensive backs versus their receivers. So it's kind of we compare apples to apples from that standpoint because we just played Lamar, so we're able to gauge those guys from a talent standpoint versus Northwestern and watching them saying, we know this guy can do this, and look how they're handling him. So, yeah, for me, it's really good to be able to watch somebody they just played and we're turning around playing them right afterwards.
Frank, how much did your phone blow up with congratulations?
Oh, it's good. You get a win. I mean, I think I called myself one time, but I was happy. I'm happy for our players. I know how hard they work. I'm with them every day. I know those guys are putting in time in our staff. And I'm happy for them. sometimes the reward, you don't realize that you're getting the benefit of the work that you're putting in unless the scoreboard says that's what it is. So that's the general notion, is that whatever you're doing is wrong if the scoreboard's not right, and that's not the case. You can make a lot of progress and do a lot of really good things, even though the scoreboard doesn't come out in your favor. And we've done that all year long. We played close games all year long, and now we figured out a way to win one of them, and that's a good thing. We're going to be in some more close games. This isn't going to be the last one. You want to be able to make sure that your guys have been in a position to win a really close game, and if you can do that, you got a chance to do it again later on. So once you start losing close games and it becomes regular, there maybe some doubt creeps in. But our guys, there was no doubt creeping in. They played 60 minutes again this week, and we figured out a way to win it.
Did you hear from some people that you hadn't heard from like in a really long time?
Not anybody I didn't owe money to. So other than that, there were some guys that called and contacted and sent texts out and stuff like that. It was really good. What's good is that I'm not sure. I'm happy that they're following Southeastern football, so we got more people, our fan base just grew because, recognizing that those guys are really keeping up with us and watching the Lions play football every Saturday night.
How much does it help you guys in terms of, you're looking, obviously, to get that win, the win's there, you got it, you can say, okay, we checked it off the list. How big is that?
I don't check them off the list like that. It's we handle them both the same way. So we walked in yesterday. We had the same meeting we did after the first 3 weeks. We went over the things that we did well. We went over the things that we need to correct, and we're moving forward. So we're not talking about Lamar anymore in the locker room and the meeting rooms or anything like that. We moved on to Northwestern. So the final outcome on the scoreboard is it's very important. Don't get me wrong. I want to win every game. I don't want to. We don't have any moral victories. But I also know that the progress that we make each week is extremely important to point out and understand. And if we do that, then we'll grow. We'll be able to grow and get better each week. And that's what we want to do. We want to continue to grow and get better, have some of our guys gain experience. We want to win, and bus ride was a whole lot nicer, and that's within that 24-hour period. So just have a great time. But then after that, we move on to the next opponent either way. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I think he's going to be up in the box, so I won't have to look at him over there. He'll probably yell at me. But, no, it's going to be good. I'll see him before, see him afterwards, and then during the game, it's on. The offensive coordinator and I worked together at Tulane for 7 seasons. He's a very good friend of mine. So I know some guys on that staff really well. But during the course of the game, it doesn't matter. We got to figure out a way to win and send them home, with a loss in their pockets.
Have you been in a situation like this before?
No, we've coached together. My brother and I coached against each other. He was in Atlanta and I was in Jacksonville. We coached against each other one time, and then at the Senior Bowl, we were on opposite sidelines when Atlanta had one team and we had the South and they were in the North. So we competed against him a couple of times, but never against my son. So it'll be pretty cool to, like I said, before the game and things like that. But once the game gets started, none of that matters anymore.
What was his path to coaching? Was he around you all the time, following
Yeah, Jimmy grew up coming to practice every day. He grew up. I was at Tulane most of the time during his younger years, I think in the 3rd or 4th grade from then on. So he grew up with Sean King and Patrick Ramsey and J.P. Lossman and Roydell Williams and Meweldy Moore. And he was Matt Forte's wedding, and Matt came to his. And, so all the Tulane guys, they're very good friends. They maintain contact throughout the years. So he's grown up in a locker room his whole life. And I wish he had gone into some other line of work. He didn't. He was at Morgan Stanley for a little while, a couple of years. He played pro baseball for about 5 seasons and then went to work at Morgan Stanley and Chase and was doing really well financially, but he just wasn't happy. So he wanted to get in the coaching profession. Like I said, I tried to get him in another direction. It just didn't work out. He's a smart guy that can do a lot of things, and he chose to be a coach. So,
would you say y'all philosophically along this parallel, or does he diverge from the things you like?
He coaches the quarterbacks, and we're pretty similar from that standpoint. So I think offensively, I don't know if he's settled in on what he wants to do philosophically. I know he handled our quarterbacks in San Antonio the last couple of years. So I know, I guess fundamentally, he does a great job developing those guys. philosophically as to what he wants to do offensively or defensively, I'm not quite sure. I think he bounced around a little bit. I know he likes to throw it, but he's a play-action guy. That's what he played at Tulane and at Jesuit. So I think he likes the drop-back play-action game a little bit more than some of the other stuff, the RPOs and things like that. But you see a little bit of him in Northwestern, but you see a whole lot more of Brad Smiley, the offensive coordinator in Northwestern. So you know that Brad's running the whole thing, but I think Anthony probably has, I'm sure they discuss some stuff. We don't really talk about it, to tell you the truth. It's we talk about a lot of other stuff, but we don't talk about that.
What were your thoughts with the secondaries playing their first game, moving past losing Matthew Wright?
Well, I thought Braylon did a great job. If you look at the numbers, Braylon did especially getting us lined up. We weren't missing line to time the other night, so assignment-wise, he did a really good job. We miss a guy like Matt from his tackling standpoint and his leadership. That you always miss those guys. But Braylon stepped up and did a super job with us the other night. And then Trey Spann, we had to expand his role. And he stepped up a little bit and then had an interception, had some key tackles. So it's I know it's coach speak, but next man up is really important when you've got a team in a game like this where injuries do take place. We got to have the next man step forward. And that's what happened. I don't know if one person takes his place, it's more or less takes his space, and then they got to perform. And I thought Braylon Trey did a nice job of that last night or Saturday night.
Is that defensive effort more in line with what you guys are expecting, or because I know first few weeks you weren't where you wanted to be? What do you think about that?
Yeah, again, we gave up a couple of explosives, which you want to stay away from those, but only one explosive run. And I thought in the second half we did a good job. When a defense is put in a position where you turn it over 5 times on offense, it's demoralizing. It really does. It takes the air out of you. It didn't happen to our guys, and that's a credit to Louis and the staff. Our guys continued to play hard. They only, I think they got 7 points off of 5 turnovers. Well, that's a heck of a deal, man. So I think that our guys were able to step up after those adversity hit. Even the long drive that they went down and scored, we went in the locker room at halftime, regrouped, made some changes, a couple of adjustments, and did a good job in the second half. And I thought our defense really played lights out in the second half. I thought offensively we played really well in the second half. I think the time of possession in the second half was critical for us to get our defense. They had 49 snaps at the halftime in the first half, but we had 4 turnovers. So when we got to the second half, we limited those, obviously the turnovers, but we limited the amount of plays that our defense was on the field because they got off on third down. So, they work hand in hand, offense and defense. Obviously, the whole team does, but for our guys to be able to do what they did in the second half, I thought was just a great job defensively.
On that, Coach, you held a team that's rushing the football for almost 240 yards a game. You held them under 200 total yardage rushing, and then well under their total points. Just keep talking about that defense for me a little bit. They got to be feeling really good about how they play against that team.
They are. And when you go back, again, I say we treat both imposters the same, whether you do well or do poorly. You got to look at them and say, let's look at it for what it is. There's some plays we want back. Well, that's going to happen every week. But we can't overlook the fact that there's some really good things going on out there. We said that after week 1. We said it after week 2, after week 3, we're going to say it every week. There's going to be some good things that take place. Great players don't make great plays all the time. That's not what they do. What they do is they make good plays consistently. And if they do that, then you become a great player because you can always be counted on to do the right thing and be in a position to make that play. And what we saw the other night, Trey on the interception, Philando on the interception. Josh Carr is the guy that caused the fumble. He's a true freshman, chasing the guy down from the backside, causing the fumble. And we had guys pursuing to the football, which allowed us to get the fumble. So the great things that are taking place, the one-handed catches and all that, very rare does that take place. The good stuff that takes place on a consistent basis, that's when you look at the outcome of a game, and that helps determine the game.
Coach, the last 2 weeks we jumped on top first, and really maybe had a couple of opportunities to extend it against UCA and then also against Lamar. Is that something you're talking about with your team? When you have a chance to maybe get that killer instinct?
Yeah, both times with turnovers, Al. Both times with turnovers that got us on those. And then the other night, not only a turnover, but then the rain came. And like I said earlier, we got affected by the rain, catching the football, going through their hands. We got, I said early on, we've got a talented group of guys with no experience. They haven't experienced catching balls. We practiced in the rain. but it's different in a game. I think Austin would love to have the post route for a touchdown back. CJ would love to have the right by the sideline for a touchdown back. Branson would love to have that one back for a touchdown. Jawan had another one for a touchdown that went through his hands. So I think those guys haven't been put in a position to make those plays. Those are tough plays to make. They're hard to make. And, you can't just take him for granted. He should have caught the ball. Yeah, he should have, but you got to take into account he's never been in that position to do that. So they're in that position. They didn't get it done this time at that particular spot. But they can build on that. If they're able to take it and grow from it, they can improve and get better. That experience is going to help them. Maybe it happens this week or next week or 4 weeks down the line. They'll be able to draw on it if they take it the same way. So good or bad, it's a learning experience, however we want to look at it.
What challenges are you expecting from Northwestern's defense?
Defensively, they move around a lot. So Mike Lucas is a defensive coordinator. I know he's a head coach here. He was the defense coordinator at UL last year. They do a lot of multiple things. I know there's a lot of points put on them last year in our game, but we're different offensively. So looking at that game really didn't help us out much, even though we did. The offenses were different. So there's going to be their pressure packages are good. They're a 4-down front. I think they're athletic on the back end. You saw that. You see them running around making some plays. They're more of a lot of time a 2-deep team, but when they do bring pressure, they're single high, more zone than man. We'll start studying them from a personnel standpoint. I'll start that this afternoon. Schematically, last night and this morning, that's what we spent most of our time on. Now we'll go back into the personnel side and start studying those guys. But they're active defensively.
What does Lamar do to move the ball on them so well that they couldn't do against us last week, you think?
Ask the question again, Ryan.
What did Lamar do so well to move the ball in Northwestern 2 weeks ago that we stopped them from doing last week?
Explosive plays by the quarterback. The quarterback got the ball. He was able to run. He picked up a bunch of yardage running and throwing on the scramble opportunities, but also got the ball at 23. I thought we did a good job on 23 this week. Xavier was on him the entire game, so we put him in that position to cover him. I thought he did a really good job. He got loose on the deep ball. Well, it wasn't him, but it was another guy, the slot receiver, got loose on the deep ball and over the top for the touchdown late. But for the most part, we did a good job on the quarterback, affecting him, not letting him outside the pocket. Not allowing him. Their option game was shut down by schematically what we were doing. I thought again, the game plan going in was really good against him. We just executed it better in the second half than we did in the first half.
Talk a little bit about the defense, you guys' defense. How does the challenge change for those explosive plays that you guys are expecting from Northwestern State?
Yeah, well, I know one is the personnel. Their receiver's really good. He's a LSU transfer that is dynamic. He beat A&M for a deep ball. He beat Lamar for a deep ball. He catches multiple passes. He's big, breaks a lot of tackles. He's a special player. He's a Sunday player. So we got to make sure that he's not the guy that beats us on a regular. We just can't do that. So we got to do things schematically to make sure that he's not in a position to take the game over. I think their quarterback is extremely accurate. He does a good job decision-making, throwing the football. He's not a runner. You won't see him take off, even though he will take off. They don't have a lot of design quarterback runs. They might bring in more this week. I don't know, but that's not what they do. They throw the football and they get it down the field. So we're going to have to really do a great job of disguising coverages, playing great man, playing great technique on guys, and defending the football once the ball's in the air.
You guys were able to kind of, especially in the first drive, establish the run. That was probably the most consistent you guys have been able to run it. How big was that for y'all to be able to get that going?
Yeah, I thought and I probably should have mentioned the offensive line. I thought we did a better job coming off the ball this week and changing the line of scrimmage. I know defensively there was a concerted effort to get up the field. We did that. Offensively, the same thing. And I thought our offensive line did a better job this week coming off the football and changing the line of scrimmage and giving us some seams to run in. The second half, we did a better job. That last drive we took over with a little over 5.5 minutes and got it down to 30 seconds, just driving it down the field. And the majority of those, it was all runs in one throw. So when you're able to run the football when you want to, not when it's dictated by the defense, or throw when you want to, not dictated by the defense, I think you have your guys get the utmost confidence in what they're doing. And I thought we got into a fist fight with them, and we came out on top. I was really pleased with the way offensively we took it to them, that the run game is kind of +2, +4, +1, +3, +19, +2, +1, +7, +11, +1, -1, like that. And that's how the game goes. You got to stay with it. You got to have patience to stay with it and hope you break one. So there was some opportunities there, you know, a shoestring here and a shoestring there. I know Marcus Coop got on the edge one time and it just got his foot. But that's a guy, if he gets into space, he can make something, you know, something big can happen.
Is that something you guys want to try to do every week?
Every week, yeah. Every week, absolutely. We're going to scheme up some things for us to run the football. But also, we're not going to bang our heads against the wall. If they're loading the box, we're going to throw the football. You know, I think that's what Monroe did against us. They loaded the box, so they put us in a position which we're okay throwing the ball. I'm okay throwing it. In fact, I think we were 49-43 the other night, run the pass, something like that. It was about 55-45. But a couple of the passes were actually RPOs, which were runs are called, and the quarterbacks got the option to throw the ball. So there were actually more runs called than what was shown on the stat sheet, that we had the opportunity to run the football, but they gave us something in the pass game, so we were able to take advantage of that.
Northwestern is really up tempo, and on that, you know, Coach Louis has been predominantly an NFL coach coming down here to college. How has he taken to the up tempo ways of college football as compared to the NFL?
Yeah, really, really good, right? You know, the Monroe game was a new experience for him because they were extremely up tempo. They wanted to get the ball snapped fast, and we got caught a couple of times. And as any good coach does, they'll adjust. So the first half, we got caught a couple of times with 12 on the field. We made that change, made a couple of changes at halftime, and adjusted for the second half. And since then, it hadn't been an issue. But he's, you know, I think that any good coach, sometimes if you hadn't experienced something, much like any player, if you hadn't experienced, you can prepare for it, but until you do it, it's different. And what he was able to do was make that adjustment at halftime, and since then he's been prepared for it. So we hadn't had an issue with the up-tempo stuff at all, really.
You guys had two conference players of the week. Just kind of touch on what they were able to do and how they were able to help you guys out.
Yeah, I think Jawan, you know, he ran the ball well. We handed it off to him a couple of times. We threw it to him. And then obviously had, the kickoff return and a couple others. And they quit kicking to him. So, you know, when you look at that, the advantage you get from that, so they didn't kick it to him. They kicked it opposite side of the field. Well, twice it went out of bounds. We got it on the 35. So I would take that every day of the week. We'll put the ball on the 35 and go from there. So I think he showed everybody how valuable he can be in all aspects of the game. And, I said we got to figure out a way to get the ball in his hands. Branson Schwabel's another guy. We have to figure out a way to get the ball in his hands. So, for me, it's important. Guys display it every day at practice. If you're making plays at practice, you're doing the things we need you to do at practice, there's a lot of carryover into the games, and that's what's happening. And then who's the other one? Oh, Tamarcus. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, Tamarcus has been there all year long. I mean, he hadn't, he's our leading tackler. He's getting everybody set up. I think I talked about him during the springtime. Tamarcus struggled picking up the defense, and he knew it. And we put some pressure on him. And during the summertime, he spent a great deal of time watching film with Louis and Chris Lashney and understanding our defense in a bigger way. And he's been able to take that into camp, and that's when it really showed. And he's been able to take it to these first 4 games. And it'll continue throughout the season. But he's understanding the defense and how it operates and what works and all the pieces that fit together. He did some things the other night that he hadn't done before as far as getting guys lined up, getting the call on the right side, things like that. Because we did play some new guys. Josh Card played some snaps on defense. David Fields played some snaps on defense. Dante Carter played some snaps on defense. So we had some new guys playing in there, and Tamarcus was able to get them lined up. So that's a huge plus for us. He's a great leader for us, high-intensity player, plays hard every snap. So he's very valuable to us.
Frank, were the issues with the penalties the same as the week before, or was it a different set of circumstances?
Well, I mean, all the calls are different, so I don't.
I just mean,
we got too many. We got to stop. We got to do a better job. Pre-snap penalties, alignment penalties, things like that. All the penalties and things like that. That do they affect the game? Of course they do. But do we have some control over that? Absolutely, we do. So if we can limit what we shoot ourselves in the foot with, then we'll be okay. We just got to be able to take care of the things that we can take care of from that standpoint.
we're good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.